Hey, hey, hey. All right, get this camera adjusted a little bit so my head isn't constantly chopped off. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. A little bit of the pre-show, show before the show. Hope you're doing well where you are. It's a lovely day here. Got a few people in. Got a busy day of meetings. Did quite a bit of work yesterday getting a few things shored up. Making a lot of little incremental adjustments to the curriculum, trying to provide support and documents and videos where available. There's actually a couple of things that I wanted to pull up and point out today that are I believe they're helpful. Maybe you'll feel differently about it, but I find them helpful. I need to open something in another open link in new window. Well, I didn't really want new window. That's not what I wanted. Open link in new tab. That would be fine. Anyway, we're waiting on CouchBot to fire as we get things underway here this morning. We released a new video yesterday. Updated a couple of important spreadsheets. When I say important spreadsheets, that's probably confusing to you because you're probably thinking to yourself, what could possibly constitute the importance of a spreadsheet? And I'll get right into that because it's apparent that CouchBot has fired, so that means that we can jump right into the updates. So I'm going to move a few of my tabs around so that we can look at that stuff together, and then we'll jump into the student work that's been submitted for the day. So actually the stream has already started. If the stream had not been started, Chris, who the hell would I be talking to? The stream started. CouchBot's fired. So, greetings one and all. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. It is time for the feedback loop. It's a lovely end of the week Friday. Everything's bouncing up. Eve's in here. Melanie's in here. I've got a meeting with a slew of you this afternoon. Actually, the next 3 hours are completely packed, so I'm going to try to make this a little truncated feedback loop so I can, take a 5-minute breather before we begin the back-to-back meetings. I'm going to share my screen because one of the interesting things about doing this little program is I get an opportunity to put together some new material for you as we go, and there's a new there's a new video here in Career Guidance for Designers. Job Hunt Like a Pro. Now, job hunting like a pro is a little different than the other videos that are in this series. Those other videos more talks on, how to write a case study, how to kind of understand what's in a job description, your resume, things like that. This is how to track your progress through the job hunt. And if you hop into that video, what you'll find is a spreadsheet that has been set up for you. All you got to do, the video walks you through all the ins and outs of what you need to do to use it. But this spreadsheet is what you'll be leveraging for your job tracking. I find job tracking incredibly difficult when you are just kind of taking random post-it notes, or maybe you've got a notebook. You've got a notebook like this, and you're taking notes in here. I think getting it into a spreadsheet that you can chop up, share. You can do a lot more with it when you get it into a centralized place. So that's one of the things that we released yesterday. Also, for those of you that are working on the Fresh Market project, or those of you that have worked on the recipe engine that precedes it in the interface program, there's always this issue of having enough content to work with. So yesterday, working with Kara, I went through and expanded that so that there's a lot more information and associated images that are available for you to bolster those projects. I'm going to be doing right now. These are just meat dishes, so I'm gonna add a vegetarian tab over here as well. It's important to work with data, and when you're a designer, I don't necessarily think that you should have to go look for all the sample data. I think you should use real data when possible. I'm not a big fan of lorem ipsum, but I'm trying to give you enough information to work with. And then when you come over to, if we come over to the Figma community, figma.com, community profile, like obviously you know all about the new Pragmatic community. Although I don't know if anybody actually uses, I don't follow anybody, nobody's following me, but people are clearly using this stuff and hearting it and all that. The big thing that I want to point to is if we go to Sheets over here in the community, you'll see there's plugins here. There are ways to sync up these databases. So, and that's all a spreadsheet is a database. So when you are, it's weird. Where did I could swear that I had a Figma file open somewhere. Gosh, I don't know where it went. We just had Figma open. Yeah, so that was interesting. Let's do this again. So we'll go to community, go to Sheets, and we'll go over here to plugins. And if we go over here to Google, and there's a couple of them actually. There's Data Roulette. There's Figma Sheets. There is I don't think Table Pay. Maybe these don't necessarily work, but these three are all Google Sheet integrations that allow you to basically pull data directly into your projects from a spreadsheet like this. And all of it's paying attention to the naming of the columns. So it's name of column and then order. Yeah, basically you name your layer in Figma the same thing as the column in your spreadsheet, and off it goes. It just auto-populates. It's very powerful. I'll be doing a video on this, kind of walking through the principle very soon, because I feel like if there's anything tedious about designing with data, it's getting it into something like a Figma sort of file, a Figma Illustrator, Adobe XD, all of that. I find it much easier to design just in straight up HTML and CSS, because you're pulling typically from like an API, or maybe you're pulling from data that's already in your project. Here, but we don't really want to jump directly into code, so we need like something like this combined with something like this, and that allows us to pull that data in. And you can kind of see what's going on here. The idea is that here they've got title, subtitle, price, rating count, image, and you can see that they've got subtitle and title, and then all that information just automatically flows in. Images flow in as well. So it's the way to go. It's the way to go. Anyway, so video forthcoming on that, and I've monologued here quite enough. I do want to make sure that I shared my screen. Okay. Because sometimes I get to talking and I don't share my screen, or I haven't plugged in my microphone, which I'm gonna go check. Is my microphone? Yeah, it's working. Yeah, I know. I'm hard to deal with. Okay, let's get right into it. So Eve has submitted her Healthy Eats progress. First of all, Eve, what I love here is I got a Thursday submission, I got a Wednesday submission, I got a Tuesday submission. Eve, I'm going to tell on you for a second, Eve. For a hot minute, Eve was in this rotation where she would submit her work to me 5 seconds before we would meet, and we have weekly meetings. So I wouldn't hear from Eve for like 7 days, and then like she had been like working feverishly on stuff, and like then boop, like right before a call, and I know she's giggling. I can hear her giggling right now because she knows I'm right. But your cadence has really kicked in the last 2 weeks, and part of it I think is you're just excited to see your work taking off, because it clearly is. I mean, it's taking off. It's doing. You're making great progress. Today, I want to say that we're looking at the form. Yeah, that's all familiar. That's familiar. I believe that we're down here. I want to. It seems like we're over here, and that would appear to be true. So let's come in here and take a peek at what we got. So this is something that we talked about on, I want to say Wednesday. It might have been yesterday actually. So what you've done is you've kind of cleaned up the delivery, curbside, and carry out. This previously had like outlines around it. You decided to go ahead and go with the box, but you've also indicated tip, and it's like I want to add tip. So it's 15, 20 custom or no tip, and if I hit custom, then it is a number and an add. I'm not sure if you want to if you really need to square these up. I'm looking at, so there's no I guess that is like going the full width, but that's kind of a bigger part of the design. I don't know, Eve. I don't know if I don't know that you have to align this down here, because it's like no tip add. I think you could make this smaller. I definitely wouldn't connect the line. I think there needs to be a break between the two. And I can see you're kind of struggling with the space. In this particular instance, I do think I'd follow, here's your form. That's the style that you've got. I don't necessarily think that this has to touch. So I would give it some room. Yeah, that's how I would handle that. But I think the idea of it is fine. So, let's see here. What else have you got? So this is where you were at before. Actually, no. This is where it's at if you haven't selected a tip. And then, oh, okay. So I've got some options. Wait, original. Okay, gosh, why can I not read your labels, Eve? That's not on you. That's on me. So this is the original, right? And I'm really glad that this, the line, the heavy line work it's like we continue to peel the onion back on this, okay? Because when this started, this was like a bright yellow with a big bold outline, and now it's very minimal, easy to read, but very minimal compared to where you started at. So you've got delivery, curbside, pickup, and carry out. You've got these lines. Let's see what we got down here. Okay, I definitely like this better. The lines up here, I just don't think that they're necessary. If you have this line here, kind of moving from delivery to curbside pickup, I think it kind of puts emphasis, and you can kind of see this moving down. So I think that's fine. Oh, and we have option 3. And Yeah. Option three. Option three definitely takes on, the color, like that pastel color that was coming in from some of the other sections. Um, but I don't necessarily think that you need it. Um, I think this information all holds together pretty well. Um, I would go with option two. I think option two gets you what you need, while option three, just a step too far. Um, and that's so much of this is just coming down to looking at how can we do the job and not like club it over the head. How can we just get the design out of the way so that people can see the content. I don't want to see the design. The design should be so subtle that it just kind of fades away. Um, this I pick up on these lines. I'm like, what's going on with the lines? So it's like it's going a step too far. This this I just kind of use it. It just like it makes sense. I am not distracted by anything. It works out. This the yellow. It's just too much yellow. Let's take a look over here for proceed to checkout. Um, so I'm guessing that once this is filled in, this will illuminate, right? I'm guessing because right now it's grayed out. I can't actually click on it. You know, one question would be what would happen if I came over here and I said, "Oh yeah, how to receive your meals." I'm gonna click carry out. If I click carry out, does this immediately illuminate? If I come over here and I try to hover or whatever, does it give me a tooltip or anything to tell me, "Hey, you've got to complete your delivery settings or complete the form, make a selection to the right." Like how is that happening? So my plan. So here's your plan, and this is the right order. Like in my head, it's like, well, why would I have the plan before the meals? Well, it's because you have to select the plan to then select the meals. So I think this is the right order. You've got regular size meals. Each meal serves 3 meals per week. Here's the subtotal. There is no delivery fee. Tip, taxes, charged weekly. Here's your meals. So you got the rice paper sushi rolls, flank steak tacos, panko crusted fish sticks. That sounds good. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think the right rail is where you want it at. I think option two is where you want the form, and that of course begins to play a role in how your checkout and delivery begin to set up, right? Because now you've got the right rail sorted out. You kind of know what's structurally happening there. Then it's time to come back and look at checkout delivery and the left rail. So now that you've got the left rail figured out on, or now that you've got some direction on the cart, I'm hopeful that you can then take and apply that to the checkout form and then after that to confirmation. So this whole area down here is really taking its cues from what you're figuring out here in the cart. Um, yeah. So the one other thing that I would mention is, this is coming. So we've got this subtle segmented controller now over here, down here on the cart, right? Like this is pretty subtle, right? Delivery, did it. What happens to this? Does this become dishes, sandwiches, and salads, and it's like a line, and you move it, or is it still the big bold? Something you got to think about, okay? Because now that you've kind of gone away from that on the form, do you go away from it in other places? to bring it in line. Um, this is a design that is fighting against itself as you work through it. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. I want to emphasize. I like progression, but it's just something that you've got to like. There's an internal struggle that always happens. Okay. Um, so let's come in here, Melanie. We've got you. So you've gone through. Oh, you've gone through, and you've even begun highlighting the area. So in the highlighting of the area, um, you're clearly marking what the proximity is, symmetry, continuity. This is really similarity, and you could say proximity as well, but symmetry just like straight down. Um, Continuity, it's clipping off, so you know that there's more down below. You can kind of, your mind's eye can see. Sorry, your mind's eye can see that there's more. It's gonna happen after we leave. Um, yeah, this is pretty good. So symmetry, 1, 2, proximity. These are packaged together. Continuity or similarity rather, cross, proximity. These are grouped, and these are grouped, but this looks different from that. Proximity. These are part of a unit together, and then finally down here, this is proximity. This is a group. That's a group. Symmetry and similarity. So there's difference in all the images, but all the images are the same size. The text is in the same spot. So there's that similarity. Symmetry is it's like 4 across, 4 down. It makes this basic rectangle on the screen. Proximity, this is all grouped together. Yeah, so you've nailed it. That's really good work there. Let's go look at exercise. Oh, I got a redo. I got some redos now. All right, so let's take a look at the redo. So I'm just kind of comparing. So if we compare this, so this is option. This is the first where we started out, and I wish it wouldn't hop away like that. And this is the redo. So let's look at that to that. All right, couple things right away. So Melanie has adjusted the size concerns that I mentioned yesterday. She's also paid good attention to the internal spacing. Basically, when I come in here from the lower corner all the way up to the top corner, it's got my box here is just a rough indication, but it's pretty even spacing all the way around. So the macro the macro of the element is equal. The micro is the space in between, and really you get more of a sense of what the micro elements are here. The spacing, like the spacing's even here. I'm guessing this is the flex point. In that, if this was shorter, so for instance, if this was just exit stage left, that would just move up. I was surprised that this moved with it, Melanie, because I thought for sure. Oh, it did not move. Okay, that's interesting. I would think that this would move with it, and this would act as a unit. I wouldn't necessarily think that this would just kind of hang out at this level, but actually, this really comes down to the way it's made. And okay, so you're not using auto layout here, which is fine. That means in likelihood if you had 2 lines, it would move up. I can't see that because it's only 1, so you don't get that continuity of seeing duplicates and how it would lay out. But auto layout would basically allow you to make that adjustment automatically, which is helpful. But I think your construction here is far better than where we were yesterday. Let's look at part 3. Part 3 was interesting in that what I pointed out yesterday with Melanie, and many of you have had we've had this same conversation. Um, you're given this black box on the Figma file on the Figma homepage, and you're saying, hey, we're going to add these tutorial videos. Many of you have written back, and the question, it goes two ways. It says, do I have to use all of this content? And the answer is no. The second question is, can I make it taller? Like, do I have to put it in the space? The question nobody has asked is, does it have to be black? Because when you look at the overall design of this, Figma's got this little banner at the top that's black, and their action buttons are black, but there's no big swath of black inside of it. So there's nothing saying that it has to be black. So I'm really curious to see where Melanie goes once we had that conversation. And of course, Melanie has gone with moving color into the mix. Now this is it's interesting. The way that I see multiple images being used with all the others, I would have anticipated, like, some sort of combination of things, and I'm just kind of not really sure exact. I'm doing this from so far away, but I would have anticipated some sort of combination of items based on. Sorry, I'll zoom in. Some sort of combination of items based on how these things are kind of layered together. Maybe you're using a stroke around it. So you've gone with the one. I like the fact that the typography is, like, I'm looking at the spacing. That all matches what I'm looking for. I like the fact that you decided to take color and move a different direction. I would have liked to see more with the images. Not just because it's me. I know I'm a handsome devil, but at the end of the day, everything else here is layering. So if everything else on the screen is layering, I mean, this one's not quite layering, but there's multiple aspects to it. I would have thought that there would have been more there. So, and this has taken it into a different direction, much like the. So, this is a quote from the design manager at Twitter. So you're kind of pulling that quote style into it. This is going to be one of those things where, if the team said, we want to promote videos, the prompt up here is all about, well, where'd it go? Yeah, it's over here. So, carefully edit the information provided to highlight information that would be most interesting to the visitor, while taking the liberty to write any additional content that you may need. You're being asked to create a new section with the data provided. So it's like the outline of this, the guidance that you received was, hey, here's the information. We need to promote this new material. In that framing, while this is a nice design, this is much closer to what they're actually asking for. I believe that you could do more with the images. I think what you did is you picked up the type, and you did the type dead on. You did something with color in the background. That's a dramatic improvement on it. But we left the images piece to the wayside. So I'm not going to ask that you redo it again, but I do think that while you took a step forward, this is actually a step in the wrong direction. Even though I like the design solution, but it doesn't hit the target of what the prompt was. And sometimes we can get lost along the way, because we get it conflated that, oh, I need to be creative here, and then we forget about what the prompt. Why did my boss, or why did the manager come over here and ask me to do this? So this is closer. I like the design over here. Nothing wrong with that. But this is closer, but yet further away. Still further away when you consider you've got the type as they're presenting type. Do we have the images as they're presenting images? And in many ways, because all of this stuff is on this side, the real key would have been to move this over so that the images are then moving off of one another rather than in a straight line. So something to think about. I like giving people things to think about, but putting everything in a straight line and having the type all over here, I would prefer to flip so that these kind of move around. And that's just when we have visual items that draw the eye in different directions, it's helpful for to keep the user engaged. While the typography, we always want to have a clean starting point for the typography. Moving the images around and moving the units of type that go with them side to side is a good practice. Okay, that's gonna do it for today. We've monologued a lot, and I've got like 3 hours of calls coming up, so I'm gonna bounce. I will see all of you fine folks again on Monday. Take care.